I stole my twin's life, and I don't want it. A story by an average Devon. A link to the original Reddit post will be available in the description down below. I am a twin. My brother Jamie and I were born minutes apart. I was the first out. That was something I never let my brother forget. Like I imagine most twins probably are, we were inseparable. Not only that, we were the true definition of identical, from our looks to our voices. Even our attitudes were almost exactly the same. Even our own parents had troubles telling us apart. The only precise way to tell us apart was the birthmark I have on my left shoulder. It almost resembles a butterfly. Throughout school, Jamie and I never left each other's side. We were somewhat popular among our class, but we only really needed each other. Our bond seemed unbreakable. That was until we reached college. Jamie wanted to be a doctor, but I had no interest in that career path whatsoever. In fact, I had no clue what I wanted to do at all. I picked business because it seemed easy enough. As Jamie began taking more difficult classes and eventually a full-time internship, we began to see each other less and less. Despite his busy schedule, he even managed to find a girlfriend, Melissa. I had basically lost the one person I'd always been able to rely on. After a while, Jamie even got his own place with Melissa, and I was truly alone. I fell into the wrong crowd. I ended up dropping out of college after a few years. My grades hadn't been that great anyway. I just felt like I was wasting my time. Soon enough, though, I found myself working a minimum wage job and living in the slums. My brother, on the other hand, ended up becoming a pediatrician. He eventually ended up marrying Melissa. Even though I was envious, I attended the ceremony. The part that hurt me the most was that I wasn't even asked to be the best man. Maybe I was a loser, but did the bond we once had mean nothing? After the wedding, I went into an even worse downward spiral than I was already on. Not only did I become an alcoholic, I also began sampling every drug known to man. Looking back, I undoubtedly deserved what happened next. It was the middle of the night when I got the phone call. It was my dealer. He promised me something extra special if I got over to his place ASAP. The problem was, I had already had my fair share that night, but I couldn't resist the urge. I got in my car and began to head to his place. I didn't even see the semi-truck as it crumpled my car as if it was a mere toy. I'm sure I died on impact. At least, I hope I did. I don't remember if it was painful. All I remember was the light. It sounds corny, since everyone talks about the light at the end of the tunnel, but it was real. I felt myself drifting into it, and I was even able to accept that I was dead. Just before I reached it, however, I was pulled back. Something ripped me from the approaching light, and then the world was filled with darkness. I shot up in bed, covered in sweat. I was alive? Had it been a dream? Are you okay, honey? Is something wrong? A voice said beside me. I turned to see who the voice was. It was Melissa, my brother's wife. Why would she be in my bed? This wasn't right. What's going on? Why are you here? I questioned her. Oh, you must have had a night terror. It's okay. You're awake now, Jamie. Jamie? Why did she just call me Jamie? Was I missing something here? I turned to look at the birthmark on my shoulder, or rather, looked at where it should have been. There was nothing there. I immediately shot out of bed and went to the nearby bathroom. I looked in the mirror. I wasn't looking at a dopehead dropout. I was looking at my brother. Except, I was in control of his motions. This clearly wasn't my house either. It was far too nice. Even the bathroom was probably more valuable than the dump I lived in. Before I could even begin to question what had happened, I heard something. It was a phone from the bedroom. As if, on instincts, I went and answered it. Hello, I answered. Hello, is this Jamie Smith? The voice answered on the other end. Yes? Who is this? I'm Officer Towns. I'm sorry to inform you, but we believe your brother Seth was in an accident. We'd like you to come down to the hospital to identify the body. So I was dead. I wasn't sure exactly what was happening. But the real me was dead. Somehow, when I died, I was placed in my brother's body. Did that mean he took my place? Was Jamie dead? I hung up the phone after agreeing to come identify the body. My body. Who was that? Is everything all right? Melissa asked. Seth is dead. That was all I could say. She didn't need to hear more, though. She understood. It was so odd seeing my own dead body. It was definitely mine, though. The birthmark was there, and the toxicology report would later show the reason I ran headfirst into my death. It was true my life was meaningless, but I didn't want to steal my brother's life. He had worked for this life. I had ruined mine. Why was I still here? Why couldn't I have just gone to whatever afterlife awaited me? I would probably just ruin this life too. I had to try, though. I couldn't let my brother's hard work just go to waste. I was given time off from work for my funeral. How could I possibly be a pediatrician, though? I hadn't gone to school for this. I barely knew the difference between a cold and the flu. Still, on the first day my brother was expected back for work, I went. Surprisingly, it went much better than I expected. It was as if my brother's experience had stayed in his body. Everything was like muscle memory. I had never done any of this before, but my body, or rather my brother's body, did it for me. Even when diagnosing the patients, the right words would simply come out of my mouth. I didn't even know half of the things I diagnosed that day. I returned to my brother's home exhausted, but somewhat satisfied that night. Melissa was waiting for me. Hey honey, I know you've been down recently, and I understand why, so I put together a surprise for you, in the basement, she said. A surprise in the basement? I hadn't been in my brother's basement yet. I can only wonder what was down there. Was he into some really weird stuff like BDSM? There was only one way to find out. I followed Melissa into the basement. Of all the things I could have guessed, they would have all been wrong. When I reached the basement, there were 5 other people already down there. They were all wearing animal masks. There was a bear, an owl, a bunny, a raccoon, and an elephant. What's going on? I asked, genuinely confused and a bit frightened. Like I said, I knew you were feeling down, so I got the gang together. I know it's a bit earlier than we usually do, but we knew you needed this. After saying this, Melissa put on a lioness mask. The man in the bear mask approached me, and he handed me a wolf mask. I was beginning to think this was some kind of furry orgy. But then he also handed me a knife. I still had no clue what was going on. But I couldn't control my movements anymore. My brother's hands put on the wolf mask, then grabbed the knife. After this, the group of masked people stepped aside. Beside them was a small cage. Inside that cage was a small girl. Her mouth was taped shut, and her arms were tied behind her back. The woman in the bunny mask approached the cage and opened it. The little girl used this moment as an attempt to escape. It was futile, though. She couldn't maintain her balance with her hands behind her back, and she found herself sliding on the floor. All I wanted to do was help this little girl escape, but my body, or my brother's body, wanted something else. I had no control over what happened next. I was a spectator as I watched my brother's body approach the girl and begin to dismember her. The others joined in after a few moments. It only took a few minutes for the remains of the girl to become completely unrecognizable. There were parts of her body spread all over the basement. After everyone was finished, Melissa turned to me. Go shower and get some sleep. We will take care of the cleanup this time as an extra gift. I know you had a long day at work. I really hope this cheered you up. And that was that. I'm once again in control, but I don't want to be. I don't want to be this body. Perhaps I've been envious of my brother before, but no more. I already tried to call the police, but this body won't let me. I'm not sure why it's even letting me write this. I guess it doesn't think that anyone will believe me. And why would they? My brother and I are so much more different than I ever knew. I did want to be closer to him, but this wasn't what I had in mind. Now, I wish I could have just stayed dead. Hey guys, I just want to thank you all for taking the time to watch my first narration video on my channel. I am so thankful to the horror community for being really supportive and welcoming. Also, special thanks to Sightless, Sonderer, and Mew for the amazing music I used in this video. Links to their channels are below. Seriously, check them out, they're amazing. If you would like a chance to have me narrate your stories, send them to my email in the description. And please like and subscribe for weekly videos. Also follow me on Twitter for constant channel updates. Welcome to my channel, and I'll see you all next week.